The truth behind the Evan Bouchard signing has been revealed, even though we can all sleep peacefully at night knowing that Evan Bouchard has been locked up for 4 years. Things could have gone very differently for the Oilers this summer with their top young defenseman. All that and more today on Oilers Digest. But first, we are very, very close to 3,800 subscribers on the road to 4,000. If you haven't done so already, folks, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for any and all Oiler news. It's the dog days of summer, but never a dull moment here in Oil Country with Oiler news. So Oilers Digest is the place to be. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? With a Bouch bomb in the headlines there. Get that offer sheet out of here. Now, we all knew about the nightmare last year with, Dylan Holloway in Philip Broberg in St. Louis, but the Oilers realizing from their mistake from last year in getting that nipped in the bud right off the hop there. As you can see, 4 years at 10.5 million. Many people were up in arms over this contract, whether it be the money or the years. With the money's fine, but again, the 4 year contract, I would have liked to see a little longer, but it's better than a 2 or 3 bridge year contract there. But on the final edition of this season's 32 Thoughts podcast with Ellie Friedman in Kyle Bukakis, there were a few juicy info tidbits around the Oilers there, but it's you can see the 3 hour and 5 minute episode podcast there, which is still not as long as the first round of the 2025 NHL draft there, which goes to show you how stupid that format was. But I'm getting off track here. But for the Oilers in Evan Bouchard, there was a challenger that came into their field of view there with the Carolina Hurricanes with a potential offer sheet. Carolina has a lot of cap room. Carolina has a lot of draft assets in draft capital. Carolina did a lot of things that are now coming to the surface to show that they were willing to be aggressive, and I think that the Oilers were worried that the Hurricanes were going to offer sheet Bouchard, so they signed him to that extension, didn't even let him get to July 1st there. Now the Hurricanes, even though offer sheets pretty much non-existent in the world of the NHL outside of last year, the Hurricanes, of course, with that war with the Montreal Canadiens there, eventually acquiring Jesperi Kotkaniemi via an offer sheet there, so they are no stranger to, being a thorn in the side of NHL GMs around the league there. Now you can see, even though the Carolina Hurricanes, they did sign, Logan Stankoven to an extension, Nikolai Ehlers, the big fish off the market in free agency. They still have $10.6 million in cap space there, so they certainly had the space there for Evan Bouchard, not to mention all the draft picks on the right side of the screen there. And it even got serious enough that the Hurricanes were looking to the Utah Mammoth to get their 2026 third rounder back for the offer sheet draft pick compensation there. We'll just take a look at the chart there. Now for, contracts from 9.3 million to 11.7, the compensation is 2 first rounders, 1 second rounder, and 1 third rounder there, and that's why the Carolina Hurricanes were looking to acquire their own third rounder from Utah. It has to be your own picks, can't be picks that you acquired from other teams there. Otherwise, they would have had to go, 4 first rounders there for something a little over 11.7 million. But you can see the Hurricanes certainly do have the draft picks for a potential offer sheet over 11.7, with 2 in 2028 and 1 each in 2026 or 2027 there. And I think a lot of people kind of believe that Bouchard was going to come in around 4 years at 9.5. But if you look at his arbitration case, he could have gotten 10. And I think that the fact that the Hurricanes were looking around there got that deal to 4 years at 10.5. So after they didn't get Bouchard, they pivoted to Keandre Miller from the New York Rangers there. So the Oilers certainly don't have to worry about Bouchard, at least for 4 years there, but a big part of their future locked up for 4 years. I know in Connor McDavid's post-season presser, he said, a big thing that the Oilers did have to do this summer was re-sign Evan Bouchard there. Otherwise, Connor McDavid, his future in Edmonton, who knows? Who knows? I'm certainly not worried, but you know what? It's about keeping your star player and your captain happy there. Now, Evan Bouchard certainly didn't have the season that he had in 23-24 with 82 points in 81 games. A point per game player as a defenseman, which is fantastic there, adding on to 32 points in 25 playoff games on the road to Game 7 against Florida there, setting a defenseman record for assists in a postseason there. I think he's like second in playoff points per game as a defenseman behind Bobby Orr. So, you can't take that lightly whatsoever there. Sure, he did have his flaws throughout the season there, but when it came into the playoffs, Evan Bouchard turned it up a notch, and he became the Evan Bouchard of the 2024 playoffs there. And if you certainly lost him irreplaceable. I mean, you can see his playoff analytic card there, 100% individual offense, 100% on ice offense, 92% defense, and then 97 percentile in the contribution range there. So Evan Bouchard certainly a one of one in the NHL, whether that's good or bad. I mean, I've certainly had my moments, thinking what was he doing, but then he turns it around and does like 3 or 4 amazing things, and I totally forget about that one small mistake there. But the Oilers, they would have made a huge mistake letting Bouchard go. You can see there that right side without number 2 there would have been very, very bleak there. No disrespect to Brett Kulak or Troy Stecher. And even so, Ty Emberson, who is not in the picture there, but he'd slot in on the right side there. So a big chunk of the Oiler defensive future, locked up. I mean, they're going to look to see if they can re-sign Jake Wallman after this year. Hopefully they do. And then, of course, the Matisse Ekholm contract is up there. But Evan Bouchard, looking forward to this season becoming a much better player. I think over the past season or two, I've really focused on the defensive side of things, especially later on in the season. Come playoff time, that's the most important thing, is to keep the puck out of the net. So I think if my game is just going to keep getting better, keep growing on both sides for next season, the big thing for me is consistency. The highs could be high, but the games you're not feeling it so much, not having them be very low. So I think consistency is going to be a big thing for me next season in going forward. Now, going forward, folks, multiple schedules have dropped here for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, preseason, it's only July, but I'm always looking forward to some Oiler hockey, folks. I mean, what's better than Oiler hockey? I mean, not a whole lot of other things, but the Oilers rookie camp will include a home-and-home set versus the Flames, with the first game being played at Rogers Place on September 12th, in Calgary hosting the rematch on September 14th. Now, that's just the rookie camps, but when it comes to the actual preseason itself there, I mean, a lot of games, far too many games there. You can see a split squad game between the Calgary Flames in Calgary, in Edmonton, and then they go to Winnipeg, back home for Seattle, play Winnipeg at home, and also play Vancouver at home, and then they're on the road for 2 against Seattle in Vancouver there. Now, that's a lot of games, 8 games here for the preseason schedule for the Oilers, but fortunately this is the last season of a very unnecessary preseason schedule. It's beginning in the 2026-27 with the new collective bargaining agreement there between the NHL and the NHLPA. Even though they do have an 84 game schedule, preseason will be shortened to 4 games per team, down from 6, even though the Oilers go for 8 for some reason, and then veterans with 100 plus games can play in a maximum of 2 preseason games. Now, what about the regular season? Not just yet. The NHL season will begin on October 7th, with dates to be announced later this summer. They're usually around the time of the MLB All-Star Game. I do believe it's like the day after the MLB All-Star Game where the NHL schedule is released, but should be some exciting times when that schedule is dropped. Of course, we will break it down for you here on the channel. Some exciting matchups to be seen heading into this season there. But that is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about Bouchard in the offer sheet. Were you worried about Carolina with a potential offer sheet there, or do you think Bouchard would have signed and then the Oilers matched it right away there? I mean, offer sheets are good for the player and for the teams there. I mean, it certainly relieves the negotiation process, but at the same time, I mean, sometimes it just puts you into a cap crunch there and back against the wall. It's what we all saw last year, but the Oilers could have worked themselves out of it. But that's a different story for a different day, and I think you've heard me warble on far too much about Dylan Holloway in Philip Broberg. But again, let me know down in the comments your thoughts, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday out. Enjoy it. Take care. I'm Matt.